So after we did the fly tying last night, I caught a couple messages for people that wanted a video that they could reference going forward. So we're just gonna tie the same fly, and then I'm gonna throw this on YouTube. So if you want to tie this fly this winter, next winter, 10 winters from now, you'll be able to. So first things first, we are using the, again, Flexi tube, large 40-40. Not sure why they're called that. It's probably got something to do with their size, but one of those guys. Gonna take it, cut some of that excess off, flip it around, same thing on this side, cut a little excess off, and kind of get some nose oil there, a little nose grease, and put it on your needle. That way when you're done tying this fly, it actually wants to slide off this this adapter. So thread of choice is Vivas gel spun 30D. Works great for all sorts of bugs, especially this one. Really strong, but also lays down pretty flat. So a couple spins right at the kind of connection point of that tube where it goes from a small diameter to a large. And then we're going to take our our EP brush. This one is the Senyo Chromatic 1.5 inch, and the color is called Midnight. It's like just a black and blue kind of color combo. Just maybe like 1.5 inches, 2 inches. You don't need much of this stuff. It's just kind of replaces the dubbing ball. I just found myself, wondering why I was putting a dubbing ball in when it didn't really do anything with this fly. Other flies, it helps it prop it up a little bit, but with a marabou fly, it doesn't really do much, and you can't see it from the back usually because the other materials and stuff are are blocking it. So I kind of wrap it forward, and I already forgot to put my weight in, so we're just going to leave that there. You want to throw in one of these Pro Sport Fisher, they're raw weights, they're tungsten. This is the size extra small. I like that size because it's not going to hang up, but it's still going to break that surface tension of the water when your fly hits. So to slide that guy on, make sure he's right up against there, and make a couple wraps in front of it. Back this guy off, and now we can wrap him in front of that as well. Just maybe 2 times. That's good. And I like using the hackle pliers because I can just kind of hold it in place, let it go, and then just pull down and it's tied in. The only thing you got to watch out for with these EP brushes is when you cut them, they're pretty sharp. I got one like jammed into my finger one time, a loose one, randomly, so I just try to bend it back a little bit, and then you could pick your EP brush out. Not super important, but it kind of just frees all those little fibers and stuff up. So I would say like the same amount of material, but I like the profile better. I mean, it's not a huge shoulder, but it's like wispy. It's got a bunch of EP stuff going on in there, and some dubbing, and some like fox hair possibly. And it's really easy. Just tie it in and you're done. And next feather going on there is an intruder prop hackle, which is basically just turkey flank. This one is the Kingfisher Blue. And the top of it's gone, but I think I could still get away with it. So just get rid of all that feather down there. Even these guys don't need to be in there. I'm just going to pinch a little bit at the top. You don't need a ton of wraps of this turkey flank in there. The cool thing about turkey flank is it's a lot stiffer than schlappen, and it's longer, and it's easy to work with. So you just make your tie-in point. Easy peasy. Clip it off. And just fold these back as you're wrapping it forward. There. Tie that off. I just use a brush just to kind of separate those feathers a little bit, just those little guys. They want to stick together. Like I said, it's pretty webby. Just break it apart a little bit. There you go, like 2 materials, and you're already sitting at like a pretty nice little profile and color combination. Next up is Guinea and Natural. Find a larger feather if you can. Just like the way they look. They kind of poke through the other materials. I felt that it's always given any fly that you tie with it just like a buggy look. It just looks alive. Tie that guy in. Couple wraps. Cut her off. Same thing, just wrap this guy forward. These guys can get a little temperamental and not want to lay down how you how you want them to. So this feather, I would say more than most feathers I work with, you really gotta, as you wrap it, really try to angle it back a little bit so that concave naturally wants to fold over the turkey flank there. Still, it may not work out for you, and you have to go back and unwrap and maybe even use a different feather, or just hammer it down and fold it back by hand. Oh, that's, I don't know what the fuck happened there. Missed the feather completely. Try that again. That's on there. Weird. Couple of turns and clip it. Same thing, just a couple, just little brushes back. Okay. So we want to get like a teardrop kind of silhouette shape out of this fly. So if I just stack marabou, it's all going to be kind of right there, and marabou tubes catch a lot of fish for sure, but just personal preference, I like a little bit of length on the sides. And like I was explaining last night during the virtual Friday Night Flies, I don't try to separate these or put them in a dubbing loop or any of that. I kind of want that big wing on the side. I don't care if they are individual and move independently. That's not really the purpose of having them in there. It kind of balances the fly, since there's not really a dramatic wing of any sort. So you just get maybe, I don't know, between 6 and 8, I would say, feathers on each side. It's not part of the fly that I'm trying to keep sparse. You do want to line them up right across from each other, though. Just cut the little ends off. That one's really not wanting to do it. There it is. At this point, if you want, you could just put just a little touch of super glue or whatnot just on the ends of those ostrich. It just, sometimes they want to get pulled out because we're not folding them back over or anything. All right, so second to last move here, just some big spay marabou black. And the thing, you know, if you tie a lot of flies, you kind of take all these little techniques for granted and stuff like that. But you know, maybe you're just new to it or something like that, and you're wondering where exactly you want to pull that marabou or what you're looking for in a marabou feather. I like them wispy, so real airy at the top. The other thing you can look at is the stem. So obviously it's got a taper, it's pretty thick, and as it really starts to narrow up, that's usually kind of a good visual indication of where you want to pinch the feathers and pull them off from. This is like an exceptionally good one. I got pretty lucky. I didn't think I had that many good ones left, so I'll probably mess the end of this fly up for that reason. So what you want to do is you just kind of separate that top, and you can kind of lick your fingers, and that, or if you have a cup of water near you, that's probably a little more sanitary right now, or just probably not just right now, and just put that tie-in point right there at the front. Give it a couple turns, wrapping, 4 or 5 times, and move it forward just a little bit. And same thing as the rest of the feathers. Just kind of scoot them on back. And come on there. Just keep sweeping them back as you get closer. Now, this one is a really full feather. At this point, you can kind of pull some of that off if you want, and decide where you want to end that fly. I kind of want it to be over on the bottom there, so I'm going to just take a little bit of that off. That looks good to me. Kind of pull up pretty tight on the stem just to make sure nothing's loose in there. Come up over the top. That just helps it stand up to when you cut it. Maybe 2 or 3 just to kind of lock her in. So yeah, just a couple brushes back. That's already looking pretty good. And then for the flash, we're going to do a Flashabou 6924 rainbow. I really like the rainbow Flashabou in this fly. I kind of elaborated a lot more on that on the live stream last night, which I'm not going to right now, but for many reasons, the stuff's great. You use like 3 to 6 pieces of flash. You want it just a little bit longer than your ostrich. Kind of gives it just, everything's got a natural taper and kind of moves really nicely. Not going to worry about that too much. I'm not going to spread the Flashabou out or anything like that. It's just going to kind of sit. Got a little piece of stem there that's driving me nuts. There we go. I was talking to my buddy Ben in the shop the other day, and we were talking about fly design, or like color coordinating your backing to your reel to the whatever wraps in your rod. And it's like, yeah, I mean it's kind of special circumstances lately, but like just living in sweatpants like for the last like week, and basically living in overalls the rest of the year or waders. So I would say the majority of fly fishermen aren't super concerned with how they look, but you're talking flies, you're talking your gear, everything is just dialed. I mean, this fly looks better than anything I own, probably. I love the way this thing's coming out. They don't always look this good, so the tools are making me look good today, and the feathers. So yeah, it's funny how stylish people will get with their flies when it doesn't really transfer into any other part of their life. Just kind of a funny observation. So now we're looking for the final guy, the grizzly hackle. You know, they sell halves and full capes. I prefer the full cape if I've got the money, just because you can take a feather off one side of the hackle and it's going to perfectly curve, and you just switch, you know. If you take the hackle off this guy, you can see how it's bending to the left, right? So that's why that sits perfect right in there. Now if I tried to put that same feather on this side, the curve is naturally going up. It's not going to look great. But notice all these over here are. Boom. So that's how you get that really nice kind of perfect little shouldered look of those grizzly hackles. If you only have a half saddle, you got to get a little creative. Otherwise, or not otherwise, they're both going to go one way, whatever side of the saddle you got. I've been using this grizzly hackle for some time, and there's not really anything left on it that's really usable. I kind of like the thinner ones that taper down, obviously, if I can be a choosy beggar, but like these are really thin. So just the worst of both worlds is what's going on here. Yeah, they're just not good. Well, they're just going to get some really big ones. Let's see how that's even going to look. Oh, it is what it is. The technique is the same. If I had better grizzly hackle, I would use it, but that's what happens when you have 4 or 5 days and you're doing absolutely nothing, is you're going to tie a lot of flies. At least if you're me. Not looking good. It's going in. So I've tried a couple things. So you can see you get that nice arc, right? If these were a little thinner diameter hackles, I'd be happier, but I curse myself saying this fly was looking too good. So you want to crisscross them, right? This hackle goes over to the left side. This one starts on the left side, goes over to the right side, and you get these little stems sticking out. So I used to just kind of, I liked a small head up front, so I would just cut them off and super glue it. Well, I must be doing something really wrong with the super glue, or it's not soaking down in there or something, but like the last 3 flies that I tied like that, the hackle's just from casting, my guys, you know, I put a bug on, and the next run I take a look at it and hackles be gone. So fold them back and throw some wraps on them, and they're in there for a long time. You know, the old school pattern that I used to tie with this, where I would do that. I still have flies around that still have the hackles. I tried to save a little space and kind of got burned, and it doesn't work. So what I do is to finish it out, just Pro Fisher UV resin, put a little on a bodkin, and just kind of get that thread. The reason I do this instead of just squirt it on is if you tend to get too much of that UV resin on the tube itself, you know, when you cut it and try to burn it back, it won't burn back, and so it ends up giving you a shitty head. So that's why I try to keep it just right on that thread. So here we go. So grab the back of the tube in the front, give it a little push and pull. We're going to cut the front of this guy off, slide it back on, and that reason is for when I burn this tube, it has that tube, the metal adapter, tube adapter, that's going to hold that ring or that hole open. be careful when you're melting your tubes back. If you're melting it and it's going and you don't take that flame away, all of a sudden it's getting real close to the feathers. You pull it away, that stuff's so hot that it'll still melt back a little bit, and I've destroyed flies that way. It sucks. Cool. So that's basically it. There's not a name for this because it's just a marabou tube. You know, no offense to anybody out there. I know people get excited when they, you know, tie a really good fly, and I think the most common thing I see online is everybody calling everything an intruder. It's like, oh, check out this sculpin intruder, and it's like a woolly bugger, or like a one station tube fly that's like, oh yeah, this sick intruder. They're not. Intruder, very basic explanation. It's got a station like this on the back, and another one like this on the front that's a little bit bigger, and some space in between the body. It's just kind of a two-station setup. It's a pretty simple definition. So, you know, this is, you know, water nightmare. You know, what are you going to name it? It's just a marabou tube. It's just how I like to tie them, and you can tie them and totally, you know, swap out black and blue for red and orange, or purple and pink, or you know, olive and brown with a little orange, you know, EP brush back there, little low water fly or whatnot. Switch out the flash, but it's just super easy. It's just EP brush, turkey flank, guinea, marabou, flash, grizzly hackle. And even though that may seem kind of like a lot of materials, when you just stack them up like that, like they're really easy to work with. Actually, there's some ostrich in there, my bad. They're really easy to work with. It's just a great looking fly that doesn't take that much time. So yeah, this will hopefully give people something to reference and kill some time while they whip up some bugs.